Hey everybody, I finally made it. Hallelujah. Let the angelic chorus start singing. Um anyway, not quite sure what's going on. I think
You have a solid 20-second lag,
I can't help that.
FYI. I know, I just wanted to let you know
Okay.
as you're waiting on comments.
Um I think that my iMac got word that my Mac Studio shipped, and so it's acting out like a child. Hate to tell it, it's toast as soon as that thing arrives with the monitors. And then things will be fast. I will be teaching so fast then that you'll be able to get tomorrow's webinar live today because because the new Macs are that fast. At least that's what we're going to tell ourselves.
Like, wait, how is that going to work?
I
Seriously considering what you're saying right now.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is, but there's an issue. I mean, obviously, and I'm not going to solve it right now. We're going to teach since everybody's here and we are live. So I appreciate y'all hanging out, showing up, spreading the good cheer, all of that kind of stuff. So let me go full screen and give an official introduction. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Expert Media Webinars. This is your host and teacher, Tony Ladig, and welcome to tonight's webinar. I titled tonight's webinar, Merlin's Guide to Product Creation Wizardry. And the reason why I decided to use that title, you'll find out shortly. So let's get into the webinar. All right, so yeah, exactly. Freaking Mercury. Damn them. So I'm sure all of you here have heard of the great Merlin, Merlin the magician, right? And the great Merlin represents the epitome of magicians and wizards everywhere. I mean, pretty much if you think about a wizard or magician and you make a list, Merlin is either at the top or near the top. And for good reason. Great character, great story. No one knows for sure if he actually existed. Some believe that he did, and there is some evidence to point to that. But given how he was written about in stories and all of that, and of course, myth and legend, notwithstanding, chances are he could have been. There was a movie, one of the author movies that was out, Arthur movies, that was out a while back, showed really portrayed Merlin in a cool light. I forget the name of it right now. Kristen and I watched it early when we first got together. Um, well, it was.
It's called Arthur.
Is that what it was, Arthur?
Sure.
Where he was like a medicine man for the Picts, where they painted themselves blue and all of that. Do you remember that?
Wasn't that the one that had Keira Knightley in it? My cousin.
Yeah, I don't know if she was in that one or not.
That's the first movie that we watched, which, yeah, that was Arthur or something or other.
Yeah, but anyways, really cool depiction of him because it was very earthy and indigenous and all of that. I thought it was really really well done. I don't quite remember the name, but uh, as I mentioned, he's definitely a character of myth and legend from all the written involvements where, you know, he was together with King Arthur and, that whole story. So Merlin really does represent a lot more, however, and we are going to use him as a case study to demonstrate just how powerful a role characters can play in building a brand, products, and more. Of course, I am going to start my new course this week in a couple days on Thursday, public domain character hacks. And so I am just kind of drawing from the mindset and methodology of where we're going to be going in that course. Okay. Because there really is a lot of powerful opportunity in public domain characters, and there's billions of them. So, that's kind of cool. And not just for like kids' books and that kind of thing. So anyway, let's get into the process. So what I wanted to share tonight was kind of how I think through things whenever we meaning Kristen and I are working on new products, new brands, logo design, all of those kinds of things. What I'm going to be sharing is kind of how we process through what we want to create. Um, Sometimes it will actually start off with a product idea first, and then we have to go backwards and say, okay, so we have this product idea. How are we going to present it? How are we going to brand it? That kind of thing. Other times we get an idea for a business, and we really try not to do that, even though we get dozens. And so, okay, how do we want this business to show up? And so just a lot of different things like that, and we'll get into that as we go along here. So I want to present a couple questions to you. And again, I'm using Merlin as the example, but you could insert any character into these questions. I have several questions I'm going to be sharing, and really good to think through these questions, write down a response, because it'll really help you hone in on not only just what would be perhaps a good character for your business. Not that you'd necessarily have to use a character, but you'll see as we get into this that there are some very, very good reasons why you may want to consider it. So first off, what makes Merlin a great character? Let's say that I wanted to build a business, and the idea of Merlin popped into my head. So why would he be a great character? Also, what are the elements that define who Merlin is? And of course, you could insert grizzly bear, you could insert butterfly, whatever. What is it about Merlin that connects to our branding or products? So if we have a type of product or product line or something like that already in mind, and we're thinking about something related to Merlin as a branding touch point, does that even make sense? Or is it an awkward kind of reach? Like, usually the way Kristen and I work is we tend to get a base business idea. We talk about a couple products that may work within that idea, and then we go straight to branding. And the reason why is because it helps us visualize the interplay of how the products will show up and what those products should be. Okay, so that's kind of how we approach things. You also want to list keywords that, in our case here, that would identify Merlin. So magician, obviously, right? But also wizard. He is presented that way at times. Seer, magical, obviously, mystical, legendary, King Arthur, cloak, pointed hat. I mean, some of these are kind of like what you would expect to see from somebody based on how Merlin has been presented to us. Not that they're necessarily true, right? But just how they're presented to us visually. Yeah, Amy's absolutely right. One of the reasons Harry Potter was so successful was that it used the Merlin archetype. Exactly. We're going to talk about archetypes here in just a moment. Crystal ball, magic wand, all of those classic things. And so, we have these visual representations. I just grabbed some off the internet. But drawing from the answers to our previous questions and available art, because we want in our minds to start formulating some visuals. So then what associations can we make visually to logos, branding, products, those kinds of things? So some of it comes down to the simple question of what kind of products do you think you might want to make? And I am not saying that we necessarily have to use the name of Merlin in your business. You don't even, frankly, have to use a picture of a wizard. It really extends much broader than that. We're just establishing a baseline, if you will, on how we want to approach branding. And by the way, I'm a huge Merlin fan, so this was an easy choice to play with tonight. So we can use any or all associations with Merlin or what Merlin represents. And that is a huge little phrase right there that I want to highlight, what Merlin represents. So it may not make the best sense for you to use Merlin from the perspective of the namesake, because he's a very common character. And so people have, in some cases, very distinct ideas of what Merlin represents. We don't want to go against that, but we do still want to draw from the strength recognition that Merlin carries as a character. And so with that in mind, we can take some of the associations that we've established through the visuals, through the questions that we asked, and use that as a place to begin developing a logo or brand or even our products. And so, as I mentioned, we don't need to use the name Merlin, but we certainly could. So then the question becomes, what do we wish to communicate about our business, our brand, or our products using Merlin as a character source? Okay. Using mermaids as a character source, using dinosaurs as a character source, using aliens as a character source, using fill in the blank as a character source, right? What do we wish to communicate about our business, brands, products, so on? Yeah, Gary says druid, right? So the relatability of the Merlin character is often derived from the deeper level meanings of archetypes. And Amy talked about that before. And Merlin can be tagged into at least two of the Jungian archetypes. And those two are sage or wizard and magician. And the way Merlin is presented through stories, and for us drawing upon those archetypes for our own business, there are elements of both of those archetypes that could be fun to play with. Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea of the kinds of keywords that we have for these particular archetypes. Okay, I don't know if you've studied the various archetypes that there are. There's 12 base ones, and then it kind of goes from there. I'm an archetype junkie. There's a lot of wisdom in studying those, for much more than product development. So some keywords that define the sage or wizard archetype include, and we'll get to the magician one here in a minute, scholar, advisor, thinker, philosopher, researcher, thinker twice, because obviously it's very important, or because I wasn't paying attention. Mentor, teacher, contemplative. So we see Merlin as this wise old sage, right? This wizard who has access to a lot of knowledge. He's obviously has insight into maybe ancient or hidden knowledge, a lot of those kinds of things. And so because of that, we can see him as a very strong archetype. Now, with products, design, or whatever, can we see those kind of keywords defining what we want to do in our business, right? Do we want to, like for me, for instance, as a teacher teaching webinars and stuff, I could see that definition for archetype play really well into my business. So if I weren't already branded for Expert Media Group, since that's the name of my company, I could very easily move into using some elements of the wizard or sage archetype to help define my business, because I'm teaching. I am a researcher. I'm doing all of these things. And apparently I think twice as much as everybody else, since the keywords are there twice. And so it wouldn't be much of a stretch for me to be able to incorporate that into a business logo design somehow, or even branded products. I probably would not use the Merlin name, or even wizard or sage or whatever, but I could still remember we're establishing kind of like a word cloud of sorts. around this archetype. Now let's take a look at the magician archetype, which is probably more closely associated with Merlin specifically. But you could see where the sage part could play in as well. So visionary, catalyst, inventor, charismatic leader, shaman, healer, medicine man, mystic, revolutionary, right? They're all keywords that could define the magician archetype. And by the way, I didn't make these up. I found them on a website that was talking about all the archetypes, but I thought that they applied well. And so even still, we can see like, we have our business Magical Bear that we're building. And so it's more of a metaphysical company. Some of these things would certainly apply. It wouldn't be much of a stretch for us to add in the magician archetype or even the wizard archetype. And funny story, our local auction where we sell a lot of stuff and sometimes buy a lot of stuff, we went there and they were selling part of a bear collection that wasn't ours, because we have bears there to sell as well, Stifes,
And
but
Boyd's.
and some Boyds, yeah. But turns out they had this bear there that we ended up winning, and it was dressed as a wizard. Handmade bear, number, what was it, 60?
636.
Number 36 out of 250. Really cool looking bear. He's got a carved staff and all that kind of stuff. And of course, immediately we thought, oh my gosh, it's Magical Bear.
He's our mascot now.
He's now going to be our mascot, and we're going to deck him out in crystals and everything. But it kind of plays, right? The bear is kind of Merlin in a lot of respects, you could say. And so
Apparently he's from something in Lord of the Rings. But...
yeah, there was something in the tag description that I guess he was actually created in honor of Lord of the Rings. But I mean, that also has wizards and such, but
he's our wizard now.
Yeah. So anyway, we have these keywords that help define these archetypes for us. And you might look at that and say, well, I don't know, I could just slap a wizard on something and be done with it. And the answer is true. You could. The problem here is that too many times I think people look at branding and they just look at it from the position of what is cool and what isn't. Oh, this is a badass looking logo. Well, yeah, that's all well and good, but in reality, from a marketing perspective, we want and need to connect to people on multiple levels. It just makes our job that much easier in selling products. There has to be an immediate link somehow. So like for us, I don't know how well the shaman wizard thing would work for Magical Bear, because Magical Bear definitely conjures up some visuals that is not a wizard, since bears. But a lot of the products that we will be selling or that we are selling would definitely connect as well. It would just have to be a different business or whatever. So what I thought I would do, just to kind of show you how we have handled characters specifically in branding different companies, different sub brands, those kinds of things. And I just realized that because of the crash, I actually didn't have time to set the animation timing. So anyway, I'll just show you this page and click everything on. Yeah. And so some of these, if you've been following us any time at all, most of these will probably sound familiar to you. And this isn't all of the brands or companies that we have. But Toy Box, of course, was our toy store. And we branded it to dinosaurs. And the specific reason why we branded it to dinosaurs was because, first of all, we were a toy store, yes, but we were really positioned in a lot of ways toward more science and math and educational type toys. and of course we had 10 dinosaurs that 9 of which were in the store in display windows or wherever. And so we were known as the dinosaur store in a lot of ways, and so it just made sense for us to include branding as a part of that. Nerdvana, of course, is our current store that's still open, and the logo here on the top center is our store logo, but we also have our alien guy here, Alan. Alan the alien. He's our mascot. And so if you get our business card, Alan is on the back. And of course, Nerdvana, our logo and contact information and everything is on the front. And so, again, based on characters, in this case, aliens. And then Beatbots is a brand that I worked on a couple years ago for myself. And I just got busy with other things, honestly. I'd still like to loop around again because I really love the logo design. And I did create a couple products, but they didn't look quite right. And I didn't have time to go back and redo them. So it stands where it is. But obviously, it's robot related, as you can tell by the design. Precious Pastimes.
Surprise, there's a bear there.
Yeah. Big surprise, bear. This was, and I guess technically still is, the brand that we developed for all of our antique booths that we had, which at one point or another, I think total, we've had 12 booths total, I would say. Yeah, because 4 at Black Rose and then 1 in Waynesboro and 7. Yeah. So we've been in and out of the whole antique thing many times. We still love it, still passionate about it. I'd open a new booth tomorrow, honestly. It just doesn't work with where we're headed right now. Not to say that we won't still do that at different points across the United States in the future. But anyways, this is our current branding for that. And I had a lot of stice that we were selling through there and everything. So the bear just made sense. Magic and Wizardry Supply Company. So this is part of what we're doing with white labeling. And so there's a number of different products that we purchase.
Right now, just wands and jewelry.
Yeah, right now. Well, the dice.
No, they don't do that anymore.
Oh, that's right. We rebranded the dice. But
even though I drew that logo, somebody else had one almost identical.
Really?
Yeah, because it's cool.
So currently under Magic and Wizardry, we have wands, like Harry Potter wands, and we have jewelry currently under that. We did also have dice for role-playing games, but we rebranded the dice to a different brand. What is it called? Dagger or something?
Magical Daggers and Dice.
Magical Daggers and Dice. Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
Wacky Robot is the brand that we did like our dinosaur puzzles under and card games and stuff like that.
Paid for the trademark, never really used it.
Yeah. Laughing Morons.
I do have books published under that.
What?
My stupid little low content journal books are published under Laughing Morons.
Right. So Laughing.
It's active.
Yeah, Laughing Morons is an active logo. We have some books published under it.
And all of the T-shirts and mugs and stuff on Nerdvana are under that.
Okay. Yeah. So we have T-shirts and mugs. This is a brand that we are looking at to also possibly include more adult-themed games.
Yeah, games.
Some of the games that I've developed and I haven't given up hope on yet, like Acronymity and what's that name? The numbers game. Do you recall? Renumerate. Yeah. Renumerate.
Nerdy games.
Yeah.
You have to actually have brain cells, which eliminates most of these areas. So.
Kristen says you actually have to have brain cells to play these games, which is probably true.
Well, they wouldn't sell well here, so we just kind of lost steam and fizzled out. There's nobody to play test them with
Yeah.
around here.
So,
Smart people.
and then of course, Magical Bear, the top logo here of the full bear is the Magical Bear logo. And then underneath that is a secondary logo that I developed. And there's actually a third one of a paw print. And we're going to be using all three of these ultimately because they represent body, mind, and spirit. And so there's going to be products that are attached to and associated with the main logo, which is the full bear, but that also represents spirit. And then mind, obviously, dude's got a pyramid in his brain. So, and then the paw print will be body, kind of like walking the path kind of thing. Debbie says, hey, Kristen, if you're going to talk, put on a mic. She's actually working on my tax numbers from last year. So she's trying to. I'm distracting her. But anyway, so needless to say, we are huge fans of working with different kinds of characters. And there's more. Like, please don't be misled to think that this is all the brands we've come up with in the last 7 years, because you would be mistaken. It's double or triple this many. And even before we got together,
that is such an understatement.
Yeah, even before she and I got together, we each had our own brands that we were developing in some form or another, and nearly all of them were character related. Not all of them, like we still have Wonderkin Publishing, which is actually just a series of 3-dimensional cubes. So that's not really really character based per se, but I had back in the day, 20 years ago, Healing the Land Publishing, which was a native guy kneeling on a map of the United States. I had oh my gosh, Harmony, which was 3D cartoon characters, or they were characters based on instruments. Some of you may have seen some of the early renders and stuff that I did with that. Cute as anything. And my word, there's so many. Light Dream Photography was my photography business name, which that's not really character driven. There's some other things that I didn't originate the brands, but I purchased them from an artist friend of mine. One is called Sacred Cows, and it's a series of cartoon strips that he did years ago. I bought all of them, and we are definitely going to be releasing products related to those. And also Dawkins the Robot, which is another series that I purchased all the rights to, copyrights and everything, that's obviously based on a robot. And you'll actually get to see more of him whenever I do the NFT generative art course, which is going to be sometime here in June, because the case studies that I'm going to be using are built upon him. So anyway, it's just kind of how we think. Yeah, Healing the Land was a long time ago. So was Tony's Yard Sale. Holy cow. Yeah, my mascot for that was my dog, Kola. But Healing the Land, it was good while it was good, but we just had, there was a lot happen with regard to that. Just from, well, I won't get into it. It had nothing to do with me and my wife or ex-wife or anything like that. There was just a lot of problems that we encountered because of the type of work that we were doing with reconciliation and everything. Apparently not everyone likes to be reconciled. Go figure. But we created some great products with that, published 12.5 books under that label, art and all kinds of fun things. We had a couple live events. We traveled all over the East Coast doing Native American presentations in schools and businesses and festivals. Yeah, it was a good time, but hard to believe it was 20 years ago. So anyway, in the course, public domain character hacks, let me switch that slide quick. If you haven't signed up yet, you can do so. A bunch of you have already. Publicdomainhacks.com/character. And it kicks off with Module 1 this coming Thursday, depending on when you're watching this. So June 2nd of 2022, we're going to kick off. And we're really going to dig into a lot of detail, go much deeper with case studies and all of that kind of stuff. Of course, you know how I teach these things, most likely. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. We do not have trademarks for all of them, Vicki. Trademarking can be very expensive. And so we have 3 trademarks for Magical Bear. We trademark Crazy Robot, Toy Box Gifts. Those are all trademarked. I don't know if we did Magical Wizardry or not. I don't remember. I don't think so. We did not, apparently. But you know, at $1,000 to $1,200 a pop, it can get expensive. And not only that, depending on what you want to trademark within the realm of all of that, it can get even more expensive. So like, for instance, with Magical Bear, we trademarked the main logo, the bear. We trademarked the phrase Magical Bear. And we trademarked our tagline. Well, our first tagline, we paid to get trademarked, and it bounced. We couldn't do it. So then we had to pay for a new tagline, which is Light Your Path, which I really like a lot better. And the attorney thinks that we have a good chance of getting it. So so right now we're in for about $4,500 for those trademarks for Magical Bear. But anyways, I would recommend, if you are building a brand, trademark. I mean, I know it's expensive, but it's definitely worth it. That way you're protected, and it's slightly more difficult for people to rip you off, but at least you have legal recourse to go after them. So I'm going to post, this is the link to the course. You know me, I'll be emailing more about it here in the coming days. But I wanted to share that. I also have some additional important updates to share with you, and there they all are in one shot. You can tell I plan ahead. So
You tried.
Tonight is actually going to be the last Expert Media webinar. I am not going to continue it forward after tonight. And I probably won't revisit it in the future. And there's a couple different reasons why. One of the, and I probably won't get into all the reasons, but the first reason is that I'm following instructions. Some of the downloads that I've received in the last 2 weeks have really made it clear some specific directions that I need to go. And I won't get into all those details right now. But one of the things, you probably noticed that my teaching schedule has slowed down fairly substantially compared to the last few years, right? And there's a very specific reason for that. There's actually a couple specific reasons for that. One is because my Tuesdays are here spending time teaching Expert Media webinars, which I've enjoyed. I mean, I've been doing this off and on for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years at least. Well, I've done, this is my 3rd round of it. We're well over 200 episodes. I know that. Total, if you count the originals. And so it's taking time away. And the other flip side of that is that I'm devoting a lot more time to Magical Bear because we're kind of in the ramp up for design and production, which is number 3 here. We're aiming for a September 1st official launch. And there's a lot that means. Matter of fact, just for a few hours here before we went live, Kristen was online with our tech guy, getting some updates put into place for the Magical Bear website, some things that we needed changed and all of that, because we wanted it to look a certain way. And we're using a highly customized theme in Shopify for that. So whenever we want new features, they have to be programmed. And so the guy actually did it live. He's in Brazil. He was on a Zoom call with Kristen and a couple others who wanted to watch in. And so they programmed everything out live. And Kristen implemented the code as he was writing it, literally. And so that plus I'm planning on actually teaching courses within Magical Bear, not initially. There's some other products that I'm developing in the publishing and digital print space for that. But it takes time. You know, I get the same 168 hours that you guys do. So, so that's probably the bigger reason why. Plus, I was really challenged in one of my morning meditations recently for my motivation behind why I was teaching it. Like the last 2 weeks, we talk, you know, I go up to the mountains every day, every morning, usually about 2 hours. That was about how long today's was. And some of the work that I've been doing lately with that has been incredibly challenging. Just digging up things that I had completely forgotten about or whatever that obviously still held issues over me. And so you can't, one thing that I've learned, I'm trying to think about how to word this without being incredibly personal, but still convey the message of it. You can't work through your own shit and not change things. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to address something and release it so that it's gone, you can't keep doing the same things that you did before releasing it. And so that has kind of precipitated a bunch of choices that I'm making now as well. And some of it is with regard to how I see myself from a personal value perspective and just a lot of different things. And so, so that is factoring in. Now, having said all of that, I will still be posting at least weekly, if not more, to this channel. Because first of all, I have a lot of content that I can draw from that's already taught. I mean, 2,000 webinars, and not all of them are live. And so I'm going to be pulling out like bits and pieces of the good stuff. So probably shorter versions and post those consistently on a regular basis. So, so I will be doing more of that, posting more content. I have, 30 recordings ready to go. And so I'll be continuing to do that. Another thing, I have, believe it or not, even though I've been teaching less courses lately, it's not that I'm running out of things to teach. It's that I'm running out of time. That's the problem. I mentioned the other week that I have 3 courses in the wings. I'm up to 5 or 6 courses. like I could have the rest of the year planned out already, and it's crazy cool stuff that I know you're going to enjoy. But along with that, another thing that has come to me is revisiting some of my past courses, because there's such great content in some of those, but technology is updated, or new demos would make sense, or whatever. And so some of you saw the post that I've made in the Facebook group and the expert media community, asking about some of your interest there, because I am definitely revisiting some of those. I've never done that before. I just always like creating new stuff, but some of the courses are aging. They're 6, 7, 8 years old or more, and I still love them, but I want to update them. Like I'm not saying I'm necessarily going to do this. I haven't decided yet, but like my coloring book classes were so huge whenever I taught them. Like everyone responded really well. I mean, it just kind of blew up, but that was like what, 8 years ago now. Lots changed in 8 years. And so I would be remiss to still keep promoting those courses when they're somewhat dated. And so I'm definitely revisiting low content books, journals, and stuff like that. That I can promise. Some more public domain stuff. Um, and some other things we'll see. I'm just not quite sure yet, but they will be like 2.0 versions of the originals. Now, of course, if you purchased access to the original courses, you'll still have access to those. But this is going to be all new live training. So, there's going to be cost still involved, unless you have the, the yearly subscription. And then you'll get all of those for the rest of this year. I probably won't be extending that into 2023, the yearly option. I haven't decided yet. So much is changing with us. But anyway, also related to Magical Bear, I'm going to be here in the next week or so creating an opt-in for those of you who want to follow what we're doing with Magical Bear more closely for products, courses, and all that kind of stuff. Consider it a newsletter. So if you want to sign up for our newsletter, we were talking the logistics of that last night on the way home. We went to see, well, we did a lot yesterday actually, but we went to see the new Top Gun movie. It's really good. And so on the way home from that, we were talking about how to handle the newsletter aspect of Magical Bear for people. Like, I don't want to, you guys are part of my expert media group business. Your subscribers, customers, members, all of that. And so I don't want to muddy the waters of that business with Magical Bear. Some of you may not be interested in that at all, and that's fine. So that's why we're going to be setting up an opt-in where those of you who are on my current lists that are still interested in finding out about our products. This is not a behind the scenes thing. This is just straight up public, writing that we do, new products, course announcements. If we're going to be somewhere related to Magical Bear, we can let you know, that kind of thing. You'll have the opportunity to sign up for that list. I will probably mail my regular list once or twice regarding that opt-in. And then once it's done, it's done. You won't hear about Magical Bear on my expert media group list again. Unless we win some like badass award or something. Then I'll just email you to brag. And also, I mentioned a couple weeks ago about us moving the Unscripted Magical Podcast to Patreon. We are definitely still doing that in relation to that business, which is indirectly connected to Magical Bear, but it's still its own thing, YouTube channel and all of that. We are still fleshing out the details on how that's going to work and what it's going to look like and everything. And so as soon as we have figured all of that out, we will let you know. And I'll tell you, time really has become the thing. And and I'm a workaholic from the sense of I get shit done. But beyond that, I probably I do invest a significant amount of time in my own personal development because I need to be the person that I should be. I need to be 100% Tony. And that just takes time. It takes time for all of us to work through our stuff. That's just how it is. And so I'm not giving that up at all. Sorry. I mean, like today, for instance, I started off with an hour in the mountain journaling, and it's a half hour each way to go to and from, so 2 hours. I went from there straight to a hour-long massage and went from there to a chiro appointment. And yeah, first half of my day was all about me. Self-care is important, and if you're not doing it, you're making a huge mistake. And so we work hard, we play hard, we're constantly planning and plotting and, you know, thinking through things. But to keep all the plates spinning, it requires time. And so I can't promise that we won't make adjustments again or changes or shifts or whatever, because I mean, we're just doing this to the best of our ability and making adjustments where it makes sense. Now, having said that, you can still expect high quality courses and training from me. That's not going anywhere. On all of the fun new technology. I'm working on a course right now on using AI to build presentations and videos and stuff like that. Some of this tech is just unfreaking believable what they're doing with AI and that technology. That'll probably be end of June when that comes out. Yeah, there's just some really super cool things that I'm working on, but you know. Val says, I hope you put the Magical Bear opt-in and unscripted Patreon in Mighty Networks and or Facebook. No matter what whitelisting I do, your emails go to spam. Yeah, I will definitely be doing that, of course. And I recognize, email deliverability is the bane of our existence. I mean, it doesn't matter how well I optimize or whatever. Some email just has very poor deliverability rate, especially Yahoo, MSN, AOL. Those are the absolute freaking worst. If any of you have any Yahoo or AOL email addresses, it's a wonder you even hear from me at all, just because it auto scrubs them, even if you whitelist. And so I'm getting best deliverability out of private emails. So like if you have your own URL and an email attached to that, that goes through well. Gmail seems to do pretty well, although sometimes I end up in the promotions tab. I'm working on some things regarding that, but I'm getting about a 15 or 20% open rate. So I can't complain too much about that. That's not horrible. But yeah, I'll be posting it in all the places just so that everyone is aware of what we're up to, because I know that some of you do want to follow along more with what we're doing with that. And honestly, wait till you hear some of this stuff. My word. I just recorded a video the other day. For those of you who are on BTS, if you haven't been into the website lately, you need to. I'm working on designing a line of bags, leather bags and wallets and stuff. And they are just awesome looking. Just super cool. We're working with a local leather craftsman, and yeah. Yeah, Amy says Hotmail. Yeah, how could I forget that one? Absolutely, it's horrible. Vicky says, I've been going through a major transformation, powerful downloads, revelations, and ahas. It is taking a lot of time and energy. It's quite amazing. Priorities. It really is that. I mean, you can't run and gun personal development, and becoming the best version of yourself. You just can't. But if you put in the time, Vicky said it well, you put in the time and you make space for that to grow. Um, the insights that you gain about not just your own personal things, but even with what you want to do in business or, you know, even play, whatever, are just invaluable. I just, some of the insights that I've been gaining. I mean, you know, my guide doesn't make me cry every day, but I think he gives me a day or two breather and then whacks me over the head again. Um, So, that's been a good experience, but mostly today was really good. But um, the more you make space for learning and growing, the better off you're going to be. You'll be a better human. You're going to enjoy your life better. You're going to get better insights and bigger updates and all of that kind of stuff. So why on earth wouldn't you want to do it? That's kind of the way I look at it. WS, have you seen the deep fakes that put still photos in motion? Yes, I've been experimenting with some of those. They're pretty cool. Debbie says, my sister still uses AOL, and the other sister had a Juno account forever. See, like, I didn't even know AOL was still a thing. I mean, I remember using it. That was the internet at one time, right? But, you know, that was a long time ago. I didn't think that they still did anything anymore. So, does anybody have any other comments or questions? I've kind of shared a lot just off of this slide alone, and I realize that, but it's a lot easier to do it this way than to, try to type it out in email, but some of it will be sent out in email as it's time to. Oh yeah, Netscape. I forgot about that one, Leslie. It's like, yeah. I mean, they were awesome in their time, but that time has passed. Comments, questions, criticisms, complaints. If you have criticisms or complaints, you can send them to my support staff, which I don't have a support staff, so it's just me. I'm definitely going to revisit some of those Ganti. Affinity, I don't know if I'm going to do. I did a whole deep dive series on that, and same with Adobe. Like I did PS Instant Expert. Quite a while ago. I don't even remember what year I did that. 2000, or let me think. Where are we now? 2022, 2016 or 17, somewhere around there. Maybe a little earlier. Photoshop has changed so much. Honestly, the latest version with some of the 3D implementation and all of that, I don't know that I would want to do a deep dive course on Photoshop these days. It would be huge. Well, I'm an email hoarder too, Leslie. I have emails back to 2007 or 8. You know, I have, how, like, I don't know if you do Gmail or not, but Gmail allows you to have, like, buy additional storage for your emails if you want. I'm up to like 2 terabytes of storage just for one of my Gmail accounts. I have like 9 of them. Well, I'm not going anywhere, Marjorie. You're still going to hear from me. You're not going to get rid of me that easy. Val says, I could use a new cover design course. That's a good idea, actually. I may do that. It's been a while since I've taught specifically cover design. And there's a lot of things that I don't talk about that it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not still involved in it. Just, well, again, you can't talk about everything all the time. We'd end up with 100 courses this year if I did that. I mean, I'm still doing stuff with AI almost every day with images, with writing, all of that. Of course, the Oracle deck that I'm working on, Spirit Animals, is still underway. But half a dozen plus new AI art programs that are out now that I've been experimenting with. AI is changing everything. It's just taking over the world. It's kind of crazy. Debbie says, maybe focus on the difference between covers for different types of products. Yeah, I could do that for sure. One of the big things about design is, like, if you approach design correctly, you can build it in a way that makes it adaptable for the maximum number of scenarios. And what I mean by that is, here's just one quick example. So let's say that you want to create, you have a great idea for a book that you already have written. You want to do a workbook out of it. You want to do a prompt card deck that's related to it. Maybe some inspirational posters that would have some of the design elements, all that stuff. So obviously they're all different sizes: 6x9, 8.5 by 11, 3.5 by 5. I mean, maybe square, right? So where do you begin? Like, how do you design it in a way that you're not over pixelating one cover or everything else turning into like mush or something? Well, one of the things that I've often talked about with design perspective is always start with your biggest end goal. And that's still true. But these days, you can, like, let's say you start off with a 6x9 book, you design that cover, and then all of a sudden somebody says, you know what, this would make an awesome workbook. And you think, you know what, that's right. And you want to do an 8.5 by 11, but you're already undersized. Well, before, the upscale wasn't pretty, even with Photoshop, but now with a lot of the AI-based upscalers, that's easy. That's a 2x upload. The 2x version may even look better than the original, with some of the new tech. So that could be a good focus for sure. Yeah, a couple of you are resonating with the book covers. I'll definitely keep that in mind. Beverly says, appreciate you so much, Tony. Don't want to lose our personal touch with you. Well, you're not going to. I'm just reshifting. You know how, like, you've been sitting in a chair for a really long time and all of a sudden you realize your leg has fallen asleep? You need to get up and walk around a little bit and figure out what in the world's going on. And that's kind of where I am right now. I just have to shift my weight a little bit and focus on what I need to focus on. And then revisit and reevaluate. I love the live interaction, and that's why I'm still going to be doing the live courses and all of that. Like, we're starting this Thursday. So Ellen says, ever since you first asked us what we'd like more of, I've been trying to come up with a Tony subject I don't already have amazing Tony and Kristen resources for. Oh, I know. We've taught a lot over the last 5 or 6. Well, we've been together coming up on 8 years, or maybe we're already at 8 years. I was reviewing the other day just the number of businesses and things that we started since we've been together, and it's overwhelming. We actually don't think about it, stuff from the past, because it's overwhelming how much we've done. We've done more in 7 years than most people do in their lifetimes, and it hasn't felt like we did. That's the worst part of it, and so we've made a very conscious decision to pull back a lot. And that's why, I mean, we still have the store, but it's available. It's for sale. We have a couple people who may be interested, but not a hard buyer yet. We have word on good authority that the store is going to sell in June. We'll see. Um, I'm hopeful. And that would be awesome, because that would take a lot more pressure off of us. But of course, me teaching regularly with Expert Media Group, and then where the things that we want to do with Magical Bear, it like something somewhere has got to give. Well, I'm not going anywhere, Ganty, so I am perfectly content with having you hang out and interact with me for years to come, for sure. WS, any news on your mobile home? So, kind of. The RV dealer, who is just a short distance down the road from where we live, maybe 20 miles, they have 2 of the RV that we want, which is good news. But there's a new one that just came out, a toy hauler. It's a little bit longer, carries more weight, because we're planning on doing shows and festivals and stuff like that as well. That's part of our travel gig. But we want to be able to carry a lot of weight, because part of what we also are doing is digging rocks and that kind of stuff. And, rocks are heavy. And so the one that we've been looking at has 4,000 pounds of storing capacity, which is good. That way, tents, tables, like those pro walls that you do for festival displays, we're going to have all that. And so we need room for that. And then, of course, inventory and that kind of stuff. So, but our pause is in the fact that in September, the Hershey RV show is happening, which is about an hour plus from us, hour and a half. And it's the largest RV show in the country. And so, as a result of that, literally the RV dealer that is near us, they're wholesalers. They sell to other RV dealers. And he said, even though their price is really very good, he told us to wait if we could till September and go to the show and buy. And so by then, we should have enough money in the bank to pay cash. And that's our goal, is to pay cash for the RV. We still have cash to come up with for that to happen, but we're on our way. And so that's kind of where we are with it. We still also have to get our truck, and that's proving to be a little more challenging, because they're very much in demand, and Ford isn't making any more of them this year. So, so that's kind of where we are. Pause. We're probably actually not going to hit the road full time until early next year. That's kind of what we're thinking. And so we'll be doing some short trips and stuff like that to kind of get acclimated to the process, and because there's a lot we have to learn, but it'll be fun. Yeah, it definitely makes you inhale very deeply, Debbie. I mean, and it's very low 6 figures. I mean, it's like 110 or something like that, 116. I forget. But still, I mean, we're over halfway there so far. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been to the RV show there once years ago, and it's jaw-dropping and slightly mind-numbing. Yeah, the Tampa show, Thomas, I've heard, like, I thought that that was the biggest one, and, you know, maybe they all say that. I don't know. As long as they give me a good deal, I don't care how big or small it is. Yeah, we're perfectly content, Ganti. Like, I don't need a 2022 or 2023 model. They actually made some changes to the 2022 model of the one brand that we're looking at that I actually don't like. So we're perfectly content with getting a 2021 or something like that. All right. Yeah, we're picking based first on function, Debbie, and second on interior. I mean, fortunately, a lot of the RV manufacturers now have moved away from like the really gaudy looking dark woods and, you know, window treatments and stuff that look like they got stuck in the 70s or 80s or something. And so now, you know, French country and farmhouse and a lot of those kind of design themes are winning the day, which is awesome because we love both of those. So, you know, some much lighter colors and grays and that kind of stuff, which I love. Bonnie says, your rock collecting in RV reminds me of the movie Long, Long Trailer with Lucy and Desi. Wow, that was a long time ago. I don't know if I saw that one. Yeah, thank you. And thank you everyone for joining me here tonight. If you haven't liked this video yet, what's wrong with you? Please click on the like button. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, I will be adding a lot more content, not just necessarily live. I may surprise you every so often and say, hey, guess what? We're going live tonight. But until then, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And if you do want notifies whenever I'm dropping new videos, you can just click the bell that you'll see under this video, and that way you will get notifies from me. And, or well, you'll get them from YouTube actually, but it'll let you know whenever I've uploaded new content. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it. And we will definitely talk again soon, at least probably on Thursday evening, whenever we kick off public domain character hacks. So until then, I hope you enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll talk again soon.